Now, rather than boring you with some of the mundaneness of coloring all those candles and the plate and the trim on the cake, I colored those solid first. The lights on the candles are colored with yellow 06. The blue matches this blue, which kind of pulls the image together. The red matches this red, and I'll put those colors on the screen because I don't feel like talking about them right now and looking up what they are. And then this yellow matches that yellow. So I'm pulling colors in together from across the image. But I wanted to show you how I'm adding a little depth to each of the colors that are already there. For the lights on the candles, I'm taking my golden yellow, Y17, and I'm going to add just a little bit of this color to the center of each of the flames. So I'm just taking a little tiny bit, and just like I did with the color before, I'm just putting the marker down and then dragging it upward just a little bit, just to add a tiny bit to each of those flames. Not very much at all, just a touch. Or just a tidge, as Dawn wants to know what a tidge is, and I don't really know what a tidge is. It's just a little bit. Don't have an accurate measurement. You don't want to cook with me because that's pretty much the way I cook. And so I did the same thing on the yellow, adding color on both sides, just like I did with the red, because if you match the shadows across a piece like this, then you'll end up with all of the thing looking unified. And so in order to blend the yellows together, I'll add a little bit more here, and a little bit more here, which softens those edges. I'm going to do a little shadow on the green, and this is taking the same green and going over top of it. So you can see that coloring Copic over top of what you've already colored actually works. And now we can also add a little depth to the candles. And I'm going to add just a little bit at the bottom of each of the candles. So I'll first do the green candles, and I'm just adding a little tiny drop of it at the bottom of them. Now the blue, I'll take the dark blue that I did for the shading down here. I'm going to add the same dark blue up here, just like that. And with the red, I will take the color that I used for this part of the shading on the red and pull those up as well and add just a little depth. It just smartens it up just a little tiny bit, and then we have one more step and we'll be done. Okay, this last step is to work on his hat and on the white icing on the cake. So on the cake, we take our light, one of the cool gray markers. I'm using cool gray 3 to do the very outer edges, the darker shadows. And you can see when you use the cool gray in combination with the warm gray, you get a very different feel from what the warm gray looks like for the fur, because that ends up feeling a little warmer in color than you do with the cool grays here. But the cool gray works pretty well for his little chef's hat here. And I'm adding shadows to basically add a little depth to how his hat sits on his head. So when there's a poof like this and a poof like this, you kind of end up with just a round poof at the bottom of each of those bits and pieces. And I could use my light gray marker, my gray number 1, but I can't find it at the moment. It seems to be missing from my desk. So in lieu of that, I'm going to use my colorless blender. Now the colorless blender does not typically do a whole lot for blending. It's kind of a misnomer. What the blender does is push ink away from it, so wherever you put it, it's going to do potentially some funky things to you. So if you've ever found that the colorless blender doesn't work the way you expect, that would be why. However, on something like this, as long as you kind of drag the color fairly evenly, you won't end up with little funny puddles like you might be able to. And it kind of actually works pretty well for something like this. And then we'll drag a little bit of that color out to soften it. And there you have it.